We're back in school with the little kids and the big kids, but do you know how important it is for them to be there each and every day? There are statistics that show children who don't make it to school every day, ultimately, it has an impact not only on their learning, but for some on whether or not they stay in school. Well, the United Way across America and right here in our own backyard, the United Way of the Central Carolinas, is helping to put a push on this to get you involved and help you to better understand why each and every day kids need to be in school. Joining us to talk a little bit more about it is Jerri Haigler with United Way of Central Carolinas. Hi, Jerri. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, B. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about this. Is it a specific initiative? Are there some statistics, as I mentioned, that talk about kids who aren't there every day suffer more than we realize?
It is an initiative, and yes, there are definitely statistics. There's a national group called Attendance Works, and their focus is on trying to increase awareness of the importance of students being in school every day on time and ready to learn. And I think we all know that if a child is not in the classroom, then certainly they are missing out on what's being taught for that particular day, and that adds up over time. So from a standpoint of statistics, there are certainly some national statistics that are definitely shocking, I believe. And we know that the trend really can start in kindergarten and goes all the way up to high school. And that attributes to that achievement gap. It also certainly has an impact on the dropout rate. I also know that, from a across the country standpoint, in looking at chronic absenteeism, which means 10% of the school year being missed, that across the country there's as many as 7.5 million students that are missing nearly a month of school every year, and that to me is shocking.
I don't think people realize those days add up, or parents who may have a kid who doesn't go, or after the parent has left to go to work, the kid decides, I'm not going today, and it adds up. If you're missing 2 days, say a month, at the end of the school year, you've missed about 20 days. That's just about a month of school that you've not been there, isn't it?
That's correct. And, in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, if a student misses more than 10 days, within that, like for a particular class at middle school and high school or within the elementary school, then there actually is an automatic F for that subject during that grading period. And so there are opportunities to make up the work that's missed, and there are recovery programs to help students who've been out of school. But really the goal is to help students and parents to understand the importance of children being at school every day. I mean, there are multiple reasons why kids miss. It may be because at kindergarten level, parents think, this is not really that important. We're in kindergarten, it's playtime, so we can take our child out a day here, a day there. And, there are other reasons why a parent may be working multiple jobs and the child is responsible for herself or himself in getting to school. Child may miss the bus and the family does not have their own transportation, so the child's not able to get to school. We know there are health reasons, and certainly we don't want kids to be in school if they are not feeling well. But, if Johnny has multiple stomach aches, on particular days, or it seems a little fishy, parents really need to understand why their child may or may not want to go to school and to try to work those problems out.
Because there may be some other underlying reasons, whether it's bullying or it's a class they may not like, and maybe that parent needs to check into that and maybe change the child to a different classroom if that helps them to feel better about going to school.
I know, certainly the schools, the teachers and administrators want to know if there are issues, whether it's a bullying issue or maybe a child, is not doing well academically, and so they feel like they're so far behind. Maybe they're embarrassed about a particular class. And, one thing I want to stress is that sometimes it is hard for parents. We missed the bus, so now we got to get up and we're going to be late. But if there is excessive tardiness, that means that child is missing that academic subject over and over again, and that has a huge impact on their learning for that year. So it's really important for children not only to be at school every day, but to be there on time as well.
It's a cumulative effect because that child falls a little bit further behind, and you could possibly get to the point where just absenteeism early in their school years could end up with a child deciding by the time they hit 16, I'm just not going anymore.
Yeah, and research definitely shows that chronic absenteeism is a leading indicator of dropout rates. And by the ninth grade, it really is a stronger predictor, according to research, than test scores.
Yeah.
So it can have, as you said, a cumulative effect that is very detrimental as a child gets into middle school and then, at the point where they can drop out of school.
I know a lot of information is sent home during the school year and when they start out. I know Charlotte Mecklenburg had a policy, and parents need to look at it, read it, and kids as well. But do you think most parents realize that there is a cutoff point for missing days and that child would automatically fail that class? I think they might be a little surprised to know it's 10 days for Charlotte Mecklenburg. You don't get all year.
Right, and the Student Rights and Responsibilities Code of Conduct, that information is available and went home with every parent, and there's a pledge form that parents and students are supposed to sign saying that they understand their responsibilities. And there's information in there in regards to, what students need to know, and that they are responsible for attending school and class daily and being on time, that if they are out, that they are supposed to provide documentation of the reason. And, excused and unexcused, there are not a whole lot of excused absences. So parents really need to understand what falls in the excused category and what falls in the unexcused category. To me, certainly we want children to be well when they're at school. So if they're sick, we want them to stay home and get well before they come back. But, either way, excused or unexcused, they are not in the classroom. And so they're not having that opportunity to hear the lessons and the instruction that's being shared with the students. So, it can eventually cause them to be behind. And from a United Way perspective, we fund 16 agencies in Mecklenburg County that really are focused on academic achievement and helping students to be successful. And of those 16, there are 5 of them that their top priority goal is around attendance and the importance of attendance and encouraging children and supporting children so that they can be at school every day. So agencies like Communities in Schools and A Child's Place and Right Moves for Youth and Big Brothers Big Sisters, they all are focusing on that message to students and parents about the importance of being at school every day.
Years ago, we had something called truant officers who would make sure that kids were in school. And just within the past 2 decades, Charlotte Mecklenburg did it because kids were hanging out at malls during the day and telling, round them up, you got to go to school. But for the average person who doesn't have a child and says, what does this mean to me? This does impact them if we start having more kids who aren't at school. They're hanging out where? Maybe in your neighborhood with nothing to do. So how do we make that point to the people who say, that's not my issue, I don't have to be concerned about that?
Yeah, I think it is a total community issue. I think if you see a child that, it's during the school day and, they should be in school, although, there are reasons we now have some schools that are year-round, so there may be different breaks at different times.
Yeah.
But, if you see a child that maybe within your neighborhood, multiple times you've seen them out in the neighborhood, or, you're out in a store and you see a child in a uniform, but they're not in school. I think those are things that you need to be aware of, and whether it's calling the school, or I know within the school system there is a program called Truancy Court, which really has had a tremendous impact because it focuses not only on the students but on the parents too. And parents are coming early in the morning with their child for workshops, so the parents are actually learning more about how to be engaged in their child's education. They're talking, with a judge in regards to those legal issues around students being absent from school, and the students are involved in some training and opportunities there. There's incentives for the students as they build up their attendance. So, as they get closer to having perfect attendance or they're improving their attendance, then they get incentives to that program. And that program has had a huge impact in the school system.
So the takeaway from this for all of us, whether you have children in school or not, is if we make sure all children are in school and regular attendance, ultimately this lifts the entire community and the nation.
It does, that's for sure. And I think, there's so many different ways. If you are a mentor or a tutor, talking with your student about the importance of being at school every day, letting them know what it means, to be there and to be motivated and ready to learn, and the impact down the road of how they can meet their goals and accomplish great things because they have been determined and they've set goals and they've been at school every day ready to learn. So, whether you're a mentor or a tutor, you're a parent, or you're a community member or next door neighbor, just encouraging kids to be at school every day.
Well, we're glad that you had this information for us, Jerri, because it is so very important. When people start talking about what's happening with the children today, the first thing that should happen is they need to be in school.
That's correct.
Thanks so much, Jerri Haigler with the United Way here in the Carolinas. We appreciate the United Way reaching out in so many different ways and telling us about those agencies that do work with kids. Now, if someone says, maybe I can do something like that, they've considered being a mentor but realize you need to get with a child in particular, is there a website they can go to, Jerri, to get more information?
Most definitely. We have a program called Project 1000 where we're trying to not only recruit but place and train 1,000 mentors, tutors, and readers with at-risk children in our community. So they can go to our website, which is uwcentralcarolinas with an S.org, or they can call 704-371-6255, and we will be happy to get you placed with an agency and a child, and we have training that we can provide you, free training we can provide you with to help you be a better mentor, tutor, and reader.
Well, thank you so much, Madam. We appreciate it, and hopefully we can get some folks who want to be just that to help kids right here in our own backyard.